And then that brings me to the third category that we would write in. The Holy Spirit brings hope. The Holy Spirit is the one that is the distributor of hope. We read this in the book of Romans, chapter 5. Hope does not disappoint us because God has poured out his love into our hearts by the Holy Spirit whom he has given us. He helps us, he heals us, and he gives hope. I was thinking this week about our little history lessons that we have kind of delved into along the way. For those that are new, I've been kind of given some little snapshots of church history throughout this series. And I was thinking about Hebrews chapter 11. We started this during the summer, a series called Gold Jacket Club. And Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 says that now faith is being sure of what we hope for, certain of what we do not see. And then in verse 11 or 10, it's pointing to Abraham. And it says that he was aspiring and pursuing this city with foundations whose architect and builder was God.
Come alive, wake up, sleeper, he is risen. We are risen with him.
And it made me think of a guy that many of you probably have heard of. You might be familiar with him, of John Bunyan and the Pilgrim's Progress. Just a little, 2-minute kind of nutshell of that. You would have 1678. John Bunyan grew up in England area, and his dad was a tinker. If you've ever seen somebody driving around town with a sign, that basically says, I can do whatever you need. You need plumbing, I can do it. Drywall, I can do it. You need your grass mowed, I can do it. That was kind of what his dad was. And because of that, it was kind of feast or famine. So John Bunyan would talk about that he grew up poor because they had a lot of seasons without. And some of the challenges that was home life led him to question the scriptures for a period of time, questioned whether he could trust the scriptures. What helped kind of pull him back was he got married, and he came across Martin Luther's commentary of the book of Galatians. And it was galvanizing for him. So he got baptized, he gave his life to service of the Lord, ended up becoming a minister, and was preaching. And then something interesting happens, and you don't have to recall the history of this, just I'm setting the stage of it, is you had King Charles II and you had Parliament who were in a civil war with one another. And the church as a whole throughout all of the England territories had to choose sides. Are we going to support King Charles II or are we going to support Parliament? And most of the churches sided with Parliament. But King Charles II won the Civil War. So he brought about all kinds of persecution to all the churches afterwards. Okay, you sided with the loser, now here comes the teeth. And so John Bunyan, as a preacher, ends up imprisoned. He was imprisoned for 12 years. Now, here's what's interesting. He could have been released at any point. All he had to do was say that he'd never preach again, and he could be freed. And he gave a famous line. He said, if I am released today, I'll preach tomorrow. And he was kept in prison for 12 years. And it was in that 12 years that he began to write this allegory that came to be defined as the Pilgrim's Progress. He writes this allegory that has almost 80 characters, and he names the characters according to attributes. So the prime character is Christian, and Christian's going to have an encounter with evangelist, and he's going to have an encounter with faithful, but he's also going to have encounters with obstinate and apathy, and with atheist and ignorance, and a variety of antagonists, all in pursuit of arriving at a particular city, celestial city. When he finishes it, it goes from England to Ireland to Scotland and then to New England in America. And it caught such momentum in New England because it talked about this arduous journey for a future land and a future city and having help along the way. And this work of writing has been translated in over 200 languages for about a 200-year period. It was the most popular selling book of all time outside of the Bible. But it came from a guy that was going through difficulty and writing about what the Christian life looked like and how the Lord helps that person. And we come back to this concept of the Holy Spirit helps us. And He heals us. And He gives us hope. And I'll give a couple of verses as we start to land today. We read this in Romans chapter 15. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Now, do you see that word overflow? Overflow. It was a Greek word that had many, kind of this unyielding, this ongoing number of things. So let me bring it back to this. My truck battery. I'm grateful for this truck battery. It's going to get me home today. But it also has a limit. This is not something that will be indefinite. There will be a time that I have to replace this guy. He's got more than one jump in him, but it's going to take more at some point. The Holy Spirit will never run empty of Himself. He will never run empty in your life. So when He says He wants to help you, when He says that He wants to heal, when He's understood to be the one that gives hope, we can understand that He will never run dry.
If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, then you know what I know. Anything is possible. If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, then you know what I know. Anything is possible.
Hi. Suicide rates are rising rapidly, so most Jesus followers should prepare ourselves for a more active role in preventing suicides. We are on the front line since pros rarely get involved until a foot soldier helps connect people in crisis with trained professionals. E94.org is a Christian ministry dedicated to equipping the church to prevent suicide through free training of foot soldiers to prevent suicide through training, consulting, and resources. Get equipped to give hope and help and confidently refer people to professional counselors. Learn more at e94.org. Thank you.